Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Wednesday. It's July 23rd. This will be our chart lesson for today. Um, Pretty much, I see a two-tiered channel here. We had a break here late morning, and we're working on a retest now. We're really struggling to go above this 1983 area in here. It's to be seen yet if we're going to make it or not. This little channel here is it looked like we had a channel right here and then it broke above, and so I'm not it looks like we probably have a little two-tiered channel working back up, but I feel pretty confident about the trend line. I just don't know if we had an overshoot here or if maybe it is two-tiered. We'll just have to see if we get back up in that upper tier again. But I don't know how much higher we're going to go today. This was my original target right here. There's leg one, then your correction, and then leg two. So you see that. So that was my target that I was shooting for. You would think that we would break through here and make a new high, but boy, it is really struggling. And they tried and tried to get through there earlier and finally gave up, and it sold off, and then it regrouped and it's working again, and we still haven't gotten through there yet. So it's yet to be seen how this thing is going to play out. We just got to kind of see what happens, but nobody seems to want to buy it up here at this price now. But my thought is we'll probably see a new high before it's all over. We'll just have to wait and see. And there's my target if we do break through. That was my original target, so we'll see if we hit that as well. I'll leave this line up here that I've got. But that's what I'm looking for. There weren't a whole lot of trades today. It's kind of iffy. We originally had this channel working up when I came in. It's a short-term channel, I think, in the bigger picture. So the first trade I saw was right here. And if I entered this, I went back and forth whether or not to make this one green. This is real iffy because we had some resistance there from the day before, but most of the resistance was up here. So this was the target I was looking for. So I like this trade, but I liked using a limit order. And you could have gotten filled a tick or so back into that, so it wouldn't have been a problem. So I definitely recommend that. But it's so close to the border, but I like it to the blue side because I was looking for the target up here. And you can see that line running across there. That was the highs from yesterday, right up in there. Maybe even a tick higher, but I adjusted it when we made these last couple highs, and then of course we bounced right there, and then the highs there. So that was the target I was shooting for early on. And notice this is the first break of this short-term channel. So if you didn't, but it also looked, notice this, it spiked up and then it kind of went, and you can see those three touches right there, and that kind of fits on the upside. So hopefully you noticed this channel and you pulled your line down an equal distance, but it didn't matter even if you didn't have that. This move down really tripped up some people. But the cool thing about it is there's a couple of people that got it right because they were excited about it and sent me an email and a picture of their chart and so forth. But what you have to realize is this is the first break of that channel, so you're generally going to get a retest. So, but notice this double bottom it made across here. If you move this all the way to the right side of the chart, look what's happening here. You got two stacked up bars. You got a double bottom right there. You haven't had a retest, so you definitely don't. And then you get another bar that breaks higher and kind of gets hung there. You're not wanting to go long yet, but you got to be real careful taking a short here because this is strong support across here. And even if it breaks through, it's probably going to pull back and give you a breakout retest. So hopefully you can see that. And then there's the next bar. It stacks up beside it. No way you want to go short right there. And I know some of you did. A lot of you went short right there and you got trapped. But the good thing is I know some of you also saw it and did the right thing and sat tight and waited on the short trap because the trend is still up. We haven't had a retest. It doesn't mean that it can't keep going, but you can't risk a short right there. Then you get the next bar and it looks really bearish right there. And so you might have been tempted to go short right there, but look what happens. It breaks one tick lower and it bounces right back and it goes higher from there. So people that are paying attention and reading the price action are looking for the retest, and regardless, they know they don't want to go short right there, because what usually happens, it breaks out, fails, and turns back into the above the support. And look at it go. It just rockets off. So that was a good trade. And then it comes back and it gives you a second entry long there, but that's kind of an inside bar, not a very good setup. So I liked when it came back and made this lower high when it broke higher right there, especially bouncing off that line. I liked going long right there. Looking for it to go ahead and make that new high. It still didn't make it, and then it turns back again. So look at that new low, first entry short, pull back, failed, second entry short. Look at that reversal. I liked going long right there, and off it goes. And that also confirmed that this lower line was right, and this was indeed a midline. So I hope you can see that too. See what price are doing. We're still working on that new high and just can't get there. Just cannot get it. This is strong resistance, so I don't know if we're going to get up there or not. I like that reversal bar, but I think you got to wait on the second entry. And this is kind of like a two-legged pullback to the EMA, but with all that resistance there, it's not quite 2 o'clock. So who knows what this thing's going to do. I just don't know if prices are going to get through there or not, but that's what I'm looking for. But anyway, hopefully you understand that trade. And then we do get a new high. And so it could have been just a channel and a break and a new high, but it really looks like a two-tier channel because we got our two swings right there, and then we confirmed it there, and then again, and then we went higher and we broke higher again. The fact that we couldn't get to the top, looking back on it in hindsight, is giving you some clues. But once you got hung up in this, you don't want to take any trades in there. Now, if you go all the way to the far right, this looks like a double test, so I could see wanting to go long right there, but look at that triple top right across there. Barely went higher there, so you got to be acutely aware of that, but I can see why some people would like to go long right there, and it was tempting for me too, especially when it got closed right there at that high. I really thought it would go higher, but all it did was go higher and trap people and gets right back in the range again. So if you didn't enter here, you definitely don't want to be entering. And what's happening is prices are trying to work back to this trend line, and most people are waiting for it to touch that trend line to go higher, and of course when it gets there it just falls right through. But there's a little short long trap right there. There's a double top, then a lower high, and a big reversal bar. I don't see any way to go short right there. I don't think you want to enter anywhere across here unless you enter long right there. And then when this broke higher and closed back inside, and you got this next close inside, I would have exited that thing. Definitely when it turned back up and still couldn't get out and made the double top, then you definitely got to. You realize you're stuck in a channel, and you're better just to exit and wait and see what happens. And that's just the bottom line there. And I don't see any way to really enter this safely coming down here, because normally it'll break out just like it did here and bounce back, which it did. It just took a little longer to work its way back. So keep that in mind. And then somebody else asked me about this. Is a breakout pullback short right here, and you could, if it would have broke higher and turned down, I would have liked that for a short. But the way it's set up, I don't really like that necessarily either. But you could look at that as a breakout pullback short, especially since it came back to the trend line and then turned down again. But honestly, I don't really like it, and I didn't circle it. Then you get this double bottom here. This is a little risky going long right here, but you almost always come back and retest the breakout point, and you're far enough away from the EMA that if you did enter with a limit order there, you could have scalped out. Again, it's being really aggressive, and there's actually another double bottom right across there. You can see that working across there. Very similar. This is kind of a repeat almost of what we had right here. And so you might have risked that. But when you get the failed second, and that's a good reason you don't want to go short right there. There's not a very good short setup. Let me make this a little bit bigger and move this out of the way. You got a doji right there to go short below. So, and you got this trend line working up. So I don't think you want to go short right there, especially when you know we're trying to come back and retest this. So just sit tight, and when it breaks and fails, then you can go long. And that was an easy trade, and you're looking for it to come back to here, but it just catches those stops and shoots. and gets all the way up here really before it really finds real serious resistance. And now we're bouncing off the trend line, this shorter term trend line, and this support area here. So it's yet to be seen if we're going to get that new high yet or not. But that's what I think prices are working on and pushing on. So failed second entry short there, and that's really all there was today. But let's go back and talk about this some more. Look at your short-term trend channel, and really it was easier to get it off the lows right across here and then drag it up, and it might have even been a little higher, but you get a close out. It's not much of a close and a push to a new low, and so that's another reason to think about going long there other than the failed breakout. But notice too that there's one leg down, a correction, and then there's really a measured leg down. So there's two legs down there. So, and they're basically measured legs, and you can see that right there. Other than that one little tick trap, that's a perfect measured leg down. And so you got two legs down. What usually happens is you're going to go higher from there. And so again, I can see why there were some people that were tempted to go short there, because it looks like a long trap. It looks like a failed second entry long, but there is no real good long setup. So not a lot of people are going to get fooled right there. Just understand that. People get fooled because, thinking actually what they did was anybody that went short there, you're the ones that got fooled, not the longs. And so I hope you can see that. And I will show, let me find this chart. Here's the latest chart that sent me, and this is very good. This is the kind of stuff you like to see. Hi, Mac. I'm going to read your email first. Here's our chart, but I wanted to show you this trade set up, that set up really well on my chart. I wasn't sure we hadn't already had a break of the trend, but I thought it was sort of like yesterday with a steep move up, then a new channel, with a steep move up and then a new channel. Looking at it that way, I saw this nice two-legged move back with a trap bar. When the bar started overlapping at the bottom below the 21 EMA, I started wondering if it was going to go into a range instead, but then it made that really nice trap bar, and I didn't get trapped. Multiple explanation points there. It turned into a really good trade. I got the first target at 4 ticks, and then I got my second target of 2 ticks. I felt good about this one. I hope I wasn't completely off base with what I saw. No, you weren't off base at all. Very, very good. And you can see that she saw the two measured legs. She doesn't have her line drawn across there, but you can see the support. You always want to be looking left to your last when you're working down, and when you're working up, you still you're looking for your last highs when you're working up. And notice you had a high there and you barely got above it before it backed up. So you got to be acutely aware of that. But very good by this lady. She saw it. And notice all those overlapping bars. And what is the rule if you see 3 or more overlapping bars, then at least one is a doji? What is the rule? It's congestion. And that's a huge move down. And so by going short right there, you're going short into support at the very lows of a two-legged move down. Just lots of reasons. It very well could have turned down and rocketed on down, but it's not a very good setup, and it wasn't a very good setup on her chart for the long. So the problem is nobody got fooled to the long side there. They let it go a little lower, and they trapped everybody to the short side, and then it took off. So I hope you can see that. And you see we're still struggling to get, this has moved down just a little bit this afternoon. We still can't get through that level right there at 1982.50. It looks like prices just cannot get through there. So I don't know if we're going to reach our target or not. We'll just have to wait and see. But anyway, I hope that that helps for those that got fooled. There's no retest of the high. And you don't always get a retest. That's correct. So maybe that wasn't enough, but then you got the channel working down, and you don't really have a show of bullishness yet to go long, but you don't want to be going short way down here at the lows. Hopefully, most of you, hopefully you saw this little possible channel. Originally I had it a little bit lower like that, uh, but that made me think maybe it was going to be two-tiered that way. But when it broke through, um, I just kind of played with it a little bit and then got a measured distance on this side. And I think I originally had it like that right there. And once that made that swing, I moved it down, and then you can see what's going on there. So this line really came off the top. And that's how you do that. If you get more price action off the upper side than the low, you try to find your trend line off the upper side, not the lower side. So, um, but there's lots of reasons. And then you got the double bottom. So you got support there. A lot of reasons. And look how the EMA is not really pointing down there. It's really just kind of flat. So it was really pointing more up, and then it's just starting to turn over. So it hasn't really turned over yet, and then it's just kind of flat across there. And if you go all the way to the right, you can see it's just barely starting to turn over. And of course, it flattens out as it goes higher again. And you can see how flat it is. So that's your key to be careful until you get a good setup. So I hope that's helpful to y'all, anybody that got fooled right there. And for those of you that saw it, which I know there's some of you did because I got those emails. Great job. And even if you didn't see the long, the key here is not to go short right there. I mean, that's the typical amateur move to sell the lows. You watched it go all the way down, and you finally get the nerve to go short when you're at the end of the move, and there's easy to see those two legs down. And of course it does look a little like a long trap, but it's really all it is a short trap. So not much else I can say about that one. If you got fooled here, just study it and make sure you remember that rule on congestion. If this congestion was at the high and you're looking to go short, yeah, maybe, but when it's at the low, you don't want to be going short out of congestion after two legs down, because the reason that congestion is forming there is it's finding support. The buyers hadn't really come back in yet, but there's a lot of support right there. There's a lot of buying when it gets there. People, know that low's right there. So hope that's clear and makes sense. And but anyway, that's about it for today. We'll be back to do it tomorrow, and then we'll wrap up this week, and I'll be going to Brazil, don't forget. So no more chart lessons after tomorrow. It may be a quick, short, easy one tomorrow, depending on how long I trade, but I'm probably going to take off early tomorrow and go get ready for my trip to Brazil. But hope everybody's having a good trading week, and I'll see you tomorrow, and then that'll be it for nothing at all next week. So I'm going to wrap it up. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.